Dear fellow teachers, I'm introducing to you a very important topic that we call 21st century education. 21st century education. What is 21st century education? We are in the 21st century, and yep, we are moving forward, and the world is never going back. And the things that used to work in the old world are no longer working in today's world. A world whereby you were measured by the capacity to claim things, how much material you can retain in your head so that you can actually reclaim that, or in a way give that back during the exams. It is no longer working. Today's world, we have powerful things like mobile phones which would do that job. Retention of materials in the head as a memory card is no longer working. We are in a world where the success is determined by students who actually think, students who can think, students who can actually collaborate, students who can work in teams, students who can actually, be able to handle challenges and be able to solve problems. Those are the qualities in the 21st century world. In such a competitive and digital economy, we need to change the way we do things. And this is my appeal to you, my fellow teachers, that I know we love what we do. We love our students. We love the job so that we want to make our societies better. But there are things that we'll have to accept to change. The old way of teaching is no longer working. So I'm introducing this topic to you not as a person who knows a lot, but a person who has a background in education, both in Tanzania, in Finland, in Russia, in Thailand. Those are places where I directly interacted in the education process. But I also have experience because I've actually shared platforms with people from various parts of the world, including America, Europe as a whole, and many other parts, Asia included. And so I'm presenting 21st century education to you today, and I'm going to give you some tips of the lessons I've learned and things I think if we consider in our learning today, we could actually empower our young people to fit 21st century world. Now, how can we groom successful students? If you look at the photo in front of you, you could see that students look more happy, enthusiastic, wondering, curious. These are some of the comments that you can take out of that photo. How can we enable that? How can we create an environment where, of course, the classroom will not always look like that, but we have to try our level best to make sure that the most amount of time we spend with our students, we actually see smiling faces, we see enthusiastic faces, we see faces that are hungry for knowledge, for skills, for empowerment. That is the first thing that we have to do as teachers. And I welcome you in this presentation. Let's look at 21st century skills. As I've mentioned, is paramount in our today's world. And things that are very important here is collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity. Without communication, nothing else work. Because no matter how good you are as a student, no matter how much skills or how much potential you have, you should be able to communicate. Should be able to communicate within your team, with people around. So even when we're talking about our students and the way we have to train them in the classrooms, they should be able to communicate so that they could actually build their communication skills, starting amongst themselves and then taking that to the market. But collaboration is paramount. They have to be able to collaborate, to work in teams, to listen to each other, to listen to diverse and various viewpoints of their colleagues, and to be able to respect the viewpoints of their colleagues. That is very important. Critical thinking. They have to think critically rather than just, doing things the conventional way. They have to make sure that they can actually think together, they can actually collaborate and work with their fellows. But during collaboration, they must think about these different ideas. They must think. And when they think, they can actually, come up with new and innovative ways of doing things. That is very, very important. Creativity is a part of it. They have to be creative. To be creative, you should be able to think, you should be able to collaborate and move forward. That is very important. So these skills are paramount. And these young people are like flowers that we have to nurture, we have to enable them to grow. But these young people, again, are people who are going to hold our world in the future. They are going to be the drivers of our economies. So it's very important that we consider how we deal with them, how we nurture them, how we treat them, and what kind of traits, attributes that we actually transform them into, or what attributes can we manage to infuse in them? What characters are we transporting to them? That is very important. Now, education comes from the word educo, which is a Latin word which means to draw from within, which means to bring up, to nourish. That means we are not going to impose things on our students, but rather we are going to inspire them so that what is in them can actually come out to the outside world. So that includes coaching, mentoring, nurturing, and inspiring rather than directing them, coercing them, forcing them, and treating them in all sorts of manners. We have to consider ourselves as coaches, as mentors, and people who can nurture and inspire. Like very important flowers. To get these flowers, we have to till the ground, we have to water the soil, we have to plant the seed, and we have to continue nurturing this flower for a long period of time before we actually have a flower that is ready to be sold. So we have to take that to account while dealing with our young people. And that is what education needs, and that is what education actually means. Now, choice is a very important part of that. We have to allow our students to choose to have a say in what they are taught. We need to involve them in various activities that we are doing with them in the class. We need to take their viewpoints into account rather than imposing our will on them, rather than directing and telling them exactly what should be done. We have to allow them to choose between the different styles, because our students have different styles of learning, they have different styles of understanding, they have different styles of things that appeals to them. We should give a room for that to happen in our classes. We should give them choices. Now, this should be student-centered. The learning process to enable 21st century skills to flourish should be student-centered, not teacher-centered. So, we should remove ourselves as teachers from the picture. We should be by the side. We should guide them. We should, give a room for them to actually control their own actions. It takes time for that, but we need to start learning. How can we enable our students? How can we enable our classes to be student-centered rather than teacher-centered? To make sure that a lot of activities are driven from within them, their own selves, not from us. And we are there by the side. We guide by the side. We sit by the side. We we look at them and see how we can impact them from the side. That means it creates more time for us as teachers, because if we stay by the side and guide our students, then we have a chance to listen to them, we have a chance to respond to their questions, and this enables us to actually utilize our love and passion for teaching in the actual sense, because then we become empathetic, and then we take them, we guide them, you know in a sense which is not like a boss and servant approach, but rather We become as peers and we learn together and we allow them to learn from us, to learn from our mistakes, learn from our challenges, to see sometimes that we as teachers and trainers, we don't know everything, and to create an environment which allows them to actually feel that, okay, making a mistake is not that kind of a big sin. No, but mistake is part of learning, and we have to correct our mistakes as we continue to learn going forward. That is very, very important. So we are going to look at the next part, which will actually take us into why this is important. Why are these concepts important? As we transform our learning to make it more meaningful, to make it more impactful, to ensure that we have the next generation that is very great. So, meet you in the next episode.